Heavenly Father, thank you for your great love for us, Lord. We are so grateful that we can be here and learn of the Word today and learn from your servant James and how he lived and how he taught, Lord. We're asking that you would enlighten our heart, Lord, that we can learn more about you and be more like you, Lord Jesus. Bless our time together. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, we are in James chapter 3. This is a short chapter, I guess. It's on the sins of speech, what he's talking about. Before we start in James chapter 3, I'm going to read a verse. You don't have to turn there. I just want to read it. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 34, Jesus said, "O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh." Let me just stop right there for just a second. It just drives me up a wall when somebody speaks some way they shouldn't speak, and then they turn and they apologize to me. "Oh, I'm sorry, excuse my French." No, that wasn't French, it was English. I understood it completely. And I don't do foreign languages. But it's because of this. Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. It's coming out of there because that's what's in there. So verse 35. "A good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things. And an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things." Pretty simple. "But I say unto you that every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." Many years ago, when I worked on the railroad, I was a problem child because I was always witnessing everywhere I went. So rather than having me work out on the tracks in the wintertime, usually they lay a bunch of people off. The ones more seniority got to stay. They gave me an office job. So I took an office job in a desk, and our desk was in a huge train depot that's the only original train depot still in action in the United States today. Big, tall ceilings, massive rooms, and they just put up dividers. And there was like 4 or 5 desks out here in one room, and then the purchasing agent had one back in the back. This gentleman had an absolutely vile mouth. I mean, just foul. And he wanted everybody to hear it, and he wanted everybody to know it. And boy, I just about had my fill of it one day. I couldn't take it anymore. It was just filthy. So I went and stood in his office till he got off the phone. I just stood there staring at him. And he got done. He slammed down the phone and let a few more expletives fly. And I quoted this passage to him right here. "Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. Every idle word that proceeds out of the mouth of man shall be taken account thereof. And you will be held accountable. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. The Lord will not hold him guiltless, he that taketh his name in vain." And some of those other verses like that. He got mad at me, said a few other things. I excused myself, and I walked out. There was a female at that desk, there was a female at that desk, and there was a female at that desk. And this was a massive room, 3 times the size of this room. And I had a desk over there by myself. All 3 of these women were church members. All 3 of them proceeded to rake me over the coals about being unjust and not very nice and not very loving, and we probably won't be able to witness to him anymore or anything like that. And I said, it had to be done. It had to be done. You know, he got quiet after that. He didn't do that anymore. I did that to another guy, Frank Slaby. This man was an absolute gorilla of a man. Literally, his hands hung all the way down to his knees like that. And the guy was he was a workaholic on the railroad. He had no greater joy than to swing a pickaxe or a spike maul. That's all he wanted to do, just swing it all day long. And he could do it. And one day he let a string go. And he was a vile man. Well, we're cribbing ties out. There's 3 guys on this side, there's 3 guys on that side. Frank is down there, the rails are running this way, and I'm standing down here. And he just let a string of it go. And I couldn't take it anymore. We were in a 6-man, 7-man gang, I guess. And I said, "Frank, I can't figure it out. You're either the bravest man that ever walked on the face of the earth or the biggest fool I know. Now, which is it?" And he just started to shake like this with a pickaxe in his hand. And he said, "What? I'll have you know I'm a Catholic." And I said, "I can tell." And I quoted that verse to him about taking the Lord's name in vain. And these guys backed up, and these guys backed up, and I'm standing there probably 5 feet away from him. He just went back to work. You know, he respected me after that because I told him the truth. We never had a discussion, a bad discussion after that. He would always watch his mouth around me. We've got to do it. We've got to do it, and it might be an open door. Well, let's go to James chapter 3, because James is going to talk a lot about this. And he starts out. He says, my brethren, mind you, he's talking to Jewish believers that are scattered abroad. My brethren, be not many masters. The word is teachers, masters. Knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation, judgment. The idea there is there are people that love to talk who really don't know what they're talking about, but they love to talk. And they love to teach somebody else that very same thing, but they don't know what they're talking about. Well, he's talking about be slow to be the one to jump in the middle and say something about everybody to everybody else. Be slow to pretend you're a teacher. A lot of people teaching get in trouble and they don't know what they're talking about. I had another guy on the railroad, Chet. Chet was a track operator. Been a track operator his entire life. And all of a sudden they decided to make him a supervisor. He was Church of Christ. You got to be baptized to be saved. Every time I'd be witnessing to somebody with a New Testament, he would run over and he'd grab that New Testament out of my hands and go to Acts 2:38. You got to be baptized to be saved. And one day we were in a restaurant. He grabbed it out of my hands and started that same nonsense with me again. And I said, don't hide my Bible under that table. You hand that thing back here so somebody knows how to use it. I was being snotty and I was not being very nice. But he stopped doing that after that. He didn't know what he was talking about. The only thing he knew was what his preacher said, you got to be baptized to be saved. That's the only thing he knew. He didn't know anything else out of the Bible how to talk about it. But he wanted to teach everybody else. Well, he says here the next thing, for, verse 2, in many things we offend all. You will become an offense to everybody. If any man offend not in the word, in other words, cause somebody not to stumble, that same man is a perfect man and able also to bridle the whole body. Well, I've not met any of them yet, okay? They're not around, except for the God-man. He was able to do it. So, of course, you get the old picture with bridle the whole body. You turn the horse a little bit here, horse a little bit there. Verse 3, the second set of this, behold, we put bits in a horse's mouth that they may obey us and turn about their whole body. Shouldn't we be able to turn ourselves just like we turn a horse? We ought to be able to, but we don't. Behold also the ships, which though they be so great, are driven about of fierce winds, and yet they're turned about with a very small helm, or small rudder. Whithersoever the governor listeth, that whoever the seaman is that's steering the ship. So you can change the direction of a horse, the direction of a ship, and even so, and that's the next illustration here, verse 5. Even so, the tongue is a little member. It produces language. And that's why a lot of people think that along this line right here, it's not just the tongue, it's what we put out in writing as well, because it's just our words put on paper. So we have to be accountable for what we write too. Even so, the tongue is a little member, a very little member, and it boasteth great things. The tongue is arrogant. The tongue is a mess. It just is. And it boasts. It's arrogant, egotistical. It talks big. Behold how great a matter a little fire kindleth. In other words, you can start a massive forest fire with just a little spark. And that's what our tongue is like. Our tongue is just like a little spark in a big forest that's ready to be burned. It's just ready. The power is there. It just doesn't take much to get it going, to start it. Starts the entire forest on fire. Verse 6. And the tongue is a fire. It's made out of it. That's what it does. It's like that's its job sometimes. That's what people think. It's a world of iniquity. The idea here of a world of iniquity, let me get through this first and I'll come back to that. The tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body and setteth on fire the course of nature. The idea here is things in life go through cycles. They go through cycles all the time. And if you look back over the history of mankind, it's always been like that. Everything's going one way, and all of a sudden somebody starts an argument, starts a fight, it changes, everything changes a different direction, it happens again, it happens again, it happens again. It's because of what we don't know how to talk. We don't know how to bridle our mouth. So you've got this tongue, it's a world of iniquity. It's like a world of evil. And it sets on fire the course the circuit, the wheels of nature. It's just the cycle that nature goes through. Generation after generation after generation. The word nature is literally the word generations. It sets on fire the course, the circuit, the wheel of nature. It doesn't mean nature, it just means the natural occurrence of what happens next. That's what goes on. And so it's set on fire of hell. It just starts these forest fires everywhere it goes. What would happen if people actually learned how to talk? You know, there's so much. Charlie Kirk had it right. When people stop talking, that's when violence comes out. But we've got people talking now, and the violence is still out there. People they're not content. They think they can say something with impunity. They think they can just get away with whatever they want to say. There's no accountability for what we say. There has to be. It's set on fire of hell. Literally, it's inflamed because of hell. You know where the word hell comes from? You ever hear Gehenna? You know what Gehenna is? Gehenna is the word in the Bible used for hell. If you're looking at a map, the city of Jerusalem, there's a valley comes across here like this and comes down, goes under Jerusalem and down like that, out to the Dead Sea. There's another valley, the Kidron Valley comes down this side, Mount of Olives is right there. So you got these two big valleys that come down like this, and Jerusalem sits right in the middle of it. There used to be a valley in the middle that would come down like this, and it divides that city into 5 hills. The bottom hill is Ophel. The next one, this is the city of David, Ophel. And then there's Acre, and then there's a big one up here called Bezatha, or Bethesda, not Bethesda. I think it's Bezatha. And then there's the one called Zion. Well, where all these valleys meet down here at the body, this is called the Hinnom Valley. Right out here on this corner where it radiuses around like that, that's where all the garbage went from the town, and they would burn it. And it was a constant picture of burning fire, burning trash. And it was 24/7. Never let the fires go out. People would just take their trash out and it would burn, 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 burn. And it became a picture of hell. So that's where the word Gehenna comes from. And it's all through the Bible about hell. Matthew 5:22 talks about that. The word hell's in there 12 times. But it's just the whole thing is set on fire of hell. It's set ablaze by it. It's inflamed by it. Verse 7, for every kind of beast, that's number 1, and birds, that's number 2, and of serpents, that's number 3, and of things in the sea is tamed and hath been tamed by mankind. Now, does that make sense to you? All these different animals have been tamed. Well, then why do we have wild animals? Well, that's not what it's talking about. It says every kind. The word kind is Genesis. It means, not Genesis, genus. It means of that nature, it's been tamed. The idea is not that you've tamed every individual animal. The idea is we have taken domain over that animal kingdom. We've taken domain over that animal kingdom. Now, you know, you can argue the individual. There's a lot of birds flying around up there that don't have anything to do with mankind. But every kind, every genus, every, kind is the only word I know what to use. Every kind of beast. That's 4-footed beast. Every kind of bird, of serpents. That word has reference to reptiles, so it has to do with anything that's reptilian. And things in the sea is tamed and has been tamed. It means it's been brought under submission by mankind. Speech thrives on inspiration, regardless of where that inspiration comes from. If it comes from a wicked place, it will thrive on that. Mankind likes to hear himself talk. He likes to hear himself talk about whatever and sound powerful. And so, you know, you can always tell somebody, and I think I shared this the other day, somebody that's new in management, they want to make sure everybody else knows they're in management, and they want to make sure that they know they've got the inside scoop on everything. I heard, but I can't tell you about it, but I know what's going on. I've got the inside scoop. They just want you to know. Well, mankind's tongue is inflamed by whatever it gets fed. And if man's got a wicked heart, and he does, and if he's following that line of thinking, this stuff's just going to start spewing wherever he goes, whatever he does. So it's my responsibility to watch out what's coming out of my mouth. I have to take responsibility over that. But it says in verse 8, the tongue can no man tame. The word no is not even one. Not even one man can tame his own tongue. You cannot do it. It cannot be done. The word man is anthropos, so it means male and female both. The tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. It's fatal. It's death-bearing venom. It just does it. It's unrestrainable. You can't restrain it. Except Jesus did. He can do it. You cannot tame your tongue. Given the right opportunity, having the right button pushed by somebody, doesn't matter who, the words will start flying. You cannot tame your tongue, but you can surrender it. And I've said that before. You can surrender it. You can say, Lord, I can't control my tongue. I know I can't. So if this is an issue that hits close to home, surrender that tongue. Just be done with it. Surrender it. Just give it up to him. It's full of evil without restraint, unruly evil, and full of deadly poison. It just takes a wrong word here, a wrong word there to start a fire. Your life might go on over here somewhere else. You don't even know what happened over there, but you just tore that whole world down. Grievous words stir up anger, but a soft answer turneth away wrath. We always remember that after the fact, okay? After we've already blasted somebody. But we got to remember it before, and I'll share some of those verses with you in a minute. And he says about this tongue that we can't tame, that's an unruly, full of evil and deadly poison. He said, therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, mankind, anthropos. The word bless is the word eulogy. We can speak praise to God. We can, God, thank you for this, praise you for that, and all that. And we turn right around. Within 30 seconds, we blast someone else. And that's just not the way it ought to be. And mankind that we talk to, they're made in the similitude of God. And they reflect God. They're made to look like God. The image of God, actually. Well, verse 10. Out of the same mouth proceeds blessing and cursing. We give a blessing to someone, the eulogy, and we turn around and we curse. Out of the same mouth. Now, that may be out of the same individual. It may be out of different individuals. Doesn't matter. The idea is the same. Our mouth is wicked. Why? Because our hearts are wicked. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. So understand and conduct yourself appropriately. You know the tongue is evil. You know the tongue has power. You know the tongue has power to control. Don't let it. Well, look at verse 11. It's a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question means it's stated in the form of a question, but they don't want an answer. Okay? They're trying to raise the situation. I think, what was it? It's the art of bringing up a subject in a debate by claiming not to bring it up. So you're not really bringing it up. You're just asking the question, then you go on to prove the point you want to. It's an insincere question. Ask for effect. Well, that's what this is. Does a fountain, a natural spring, does a natural spring bring forth at the same place, out of the word place is hole, out of the same hole where the water comes out, does it bring forth sweet water and bitter water? Now, I don't know if that's bitter or salt water. I don't know. No, that would be unnatural. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So it's a rhetorical question. The obvious answer is no, it doesn't do that. Verse 12. Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries? Well, if something's grafted in, it could, but by nature, no, it can't. Either a vine, figs? No, it can't. So can no fountain bring forth, yield both salt water and fresh? And it says salt water right there. No, that would be absurd. Of course they don't do that. Jesus, when he went to the tree, and he expected to see some fruit on that tree, and there was no fruit, and it should have borne fruit. Of course, he cursed that tree. But you don't go up to an apple tree looking for an orange. You go up to an apple tree looking for an apple. It wouldn't bear something else. That would be unnatural. So we don't do that. These things don't happen naturally in nature, and they shouldn't happen in mankind either, but they do. Out of the same mouth comes out blessing and cursing. I think it was our pastor in Michigan, or the first one we had here in South Carolina? He used to always talk about having roast preacher for dinner on Sunday. He said they'd come to church and they listen to the great sermons, and then they go home and have roast preacher. And they just, they're being nice to everybody at church, and they're, shaking hands, and everything's hunky-dory and fun and everything. And you go home and you start just roasting the pastor. Something he said, something he did. You just tear him up. He said that for a different reason, but what? It happens. There's a lot of people do that. Years ago, I worked on the railroad. And Phil Hedgepath and I were on a traveling gang. We traveled around. Well, we were out of town on a Wednesday night, and so we called a local Baptist church to see if we could get a ride to their prayer meeting. Well, the pastor said, well, yeah, I guess I can get somebody to come pick you up. We didn't even know where it was, let alone have transportation. So this guy came and picked us up, him and his wife. They introduced themselves. He was the chairman of the deacons, and it was an absolute silent ride all the way there. We couldn't get a word edgewise out of anybody. We got done with a little sermonette that he had, and I had some time to pray. Really wasn't much of a prayer time. But we got back in the car, and the deacon pulled out a cigarette. The wife pulled out a cigarette. They never said another word to us the rest of the way back to the motel, but they were tearing that pastor apart with us sitting right there. And they were just being nice to the guy and shaking his hands and all of that and everything. And I was just trying to look at Phil with my eyes wide open, and we didn't say anything. What can you say? So, well, look at verse 13. He says, who's a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? And the idea goes back to 3:1 where it says, be not many teachers. Don't, be slow to move into that position. Be careful you know what you're talking about. Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Question mark. Rhetorical. Let him show out of a good conversation, his good life, his works and meekness of wisdom, with meekness and wisdom. So what he's saying is, your life, my life, it ought to show a walk that we've got, both in our words. When he talks about wisdom, he's talking about words. The wisdom and the meekness of our heart, so that we're not meek here and mean there. It should be meekness all the time. So our walk should be in a straight line all the time, not when nobody's looking, we divert over here. And our words, our topic of conversation along the way should be the same. Just don't do that. Who's a wise man? Let him show out of a good conversation his works, faith that shows works. That's the discussion we had earlier. With meekness of wisdom, the kind of meekness that accompanies wisdom should be, whether you're a listener or a teacher. But if you have bitter envying, the word envy is jealousy. Bitter means sharp, piercing, biting, pungent. If you have bitter envying and strife in your heart, contention, rivalry, glory not and lie not against the truth. In other words, be honest about it. Okay? Don't be arrogant about it. And he's still talking about the tongue. This wisdom descends not from above, but is earthly. It's of the world. It's of the terrestrial area. This worldly morality of non-true biblical wisdom. He says God is the opposite of all of that. That kind of wisdom, where you've got bitter envying in your hearts and you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. One time you're sweet, next time you're bitter, you're ugly about it. He said that's from the world. That is not from God. And he says it is sensual. That means morally it's wicked. Morally it's evil. It's the lower bestial level. And it's devilish. It's demonic in nature. The wisdom of the natural man. And that goes back to the world, the flesh, and the devil. That's just what it is. But the wisdom that is from above is, first of all, above everything, is first of all pure. That's because God is absolutely holy. God is holy. I don't think we understand that completely. God is holy. And of course, that carries with it perfection, carries with it complete, pure innocence. And then it says, then it's peaceable. That means it's quiet, it's at rest. It's not disturbed, it's not agitated. Well, if you're operating under this worldly wisdom of strife and envying in your heart, there's no peace. It's just all agitation all the time. Gentle and easy to be entreated. In other words, it's good for persuasion. It's easy to talk about. It's easy to display. It's easy to be entreated is one word. And it's full of mercy, compassion, and good fruits, without impartiality. It's impartial. And without hypocrisy. It's genuine, sincere, not fake. So the wisdom that's from above is first pure, because God's holy. Then peaceable. Then gentle. Easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits. Without partiality and without hypocrisy. It's genuine. And the fruit of righteousness, and peace is that fruit. The fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by them that make peace. The idea is true righteousness bears its own fruit. And righteousness by nature will bring peace. Peace in turn will bring righteousness. And it's onward going like that. It's just the way it goes. It just works that way. Righteousness bears fruit after its kind. And that kind has peace because everything is set right. People are being right. People are doing right. They are right. When peace is sown, it bears fruit. And that fruit's righteousness. And it just keeps going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it is sown in peace of them that make peace. And it's blessed of God in Matthew 5. Well, the peacemaker means he's sowing in peace, not discord. You know, there's a lot of Christians sowing discord everywhere. That's sad. True peacemakers are those that live The true peacemakers are those that live by that heavenly wisdom, verse 17, which is first pure, then peaceable. That is by righteousness. That's the way it needs to be. Well, I've got some verses here I want to hand out. I hope I've got enough. It's on two sides here. If I don't have enough, we can make some more. Go ahead. It's just a bunch of verses that I put together about righteousness, about the tongue. The reason I did that, I think sometimes we forget about some of these verses. They're not in any kind of order. Some are in Old Testament, some are in New Testament, so nothing's in any kind of order. Just simple stuff. Colossians 3:9, lie not one to another. You put off the old man, so don't lie. Are there enough to go around? Okay.
Well, me and John can share it.
All right.
We live in the same place.
I've got one more page right here I can give up. We can probably get some more made. Yep, just enough. Look at that. Okay. I don't want to take a lot of time to look through some of these, but there's some real good ones. Psalm 19:14, about halfway down the first page. It says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Have you ever had to pray that? I've had to pray that. Lord, please, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable. Because I knew what was brewing in my heart, and it wasn't going to be pretty. And it's got to stop. You just can't do that. Well, right after that, it repeats, every idle word that men shall speak shall give an account thereof in the day of judgment. Do you know what the word idle means? What does the word idle mean? It just means a useless word. There's no meaning to it. It's ineffective. It might be an unclean word, but it's just ineffective. Nothing that does any good. It's probably pernicious. It's probably vain, okay? It might be wicked in its word. It might not be. It might be vulgar language. But it just doesn't fit. It's like, you know how people, they always sprinkle words in their speech that don't have anything to do with what you're talking about? It's just, there's no need for it. But it's condemned by Jesus. It absolutely is. Our words reveal our thoughts. And in fact, form a basis for the interpretation of your character. So, if you want everybody to think you're holy and pious and all of that, and you go out that door and all of a sudden you start with a vile mouth, they have every right to judge your character and to see what you really are. Because that's what we really are. Whatever comes out. Spoken words fly all over. Now, you can't recall them. They're on the internet. They're everywhere. They're out there forever. Who knows the damage they do? Who knows what takes into account? I called this verse out Sunday. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? You know what the next verse says? I, the Lord, try the hearts. I know what's in the heart. I can see it. You can't hide it from God. We say, oh, that's nothing. It's nothing. Well, God says, every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give an account of it in the day of judgment. Here's another one. And I'm trying to be encouraging here. About almost all the way to the bottom of the page, Proverbs 18:13. He that answer a matter before he heareth it, it is a folly and a shame unto him. The idea is, and we're bad about it here in America, when you're carrying on a conversation with somebody, you're not listening. I'm not saying you, I'm saying the majority of people. They're not really listening to what that person is saying. They're too busy thinking about how they're going to respond when it's their turn to talk so they can top whatever it was that he was talking about. There's really, when you go to witness to somebody, sometimes you just got to shut up and let them talk. Listen to them. Listen to what they're saying. Maybe you'll have an inroad from that. But the idea is, when you're too busy thinking about what you're going to say, what you're saying is whatever he's saying is folly. It doesn't matter what he says. I got one better than that. That's a problem we got to work on in America. A wise man will hear and will increase learning. A man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. You just got to open your ears and listen. You've got to. All right, I don't think there's any others I want to point to. I think that's it. I'm having trouble seeing for some reason. Yeah, I think that's it. Now there's Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. I put it the wrong way. Okay. Any comments? Any suggestions? I think we should try to memorize those verses. You see. Did you want to say something?
It was just that it's really good that we have to remember, I was following with a comment, true wisdom is free from self-interest and strife.
Yep.
It's referring to verse 17, and that's kind of really good reminder. We have to kind of center ourselves sometimes, remember where we are in God's kingdom, right? And that we are no longer seeking things for ourselves.
Right.
Right? We have to provide
That's
for
fair.
them,
Yep.
for ourselves. But when we're around other people, we're now suddenly their interest is what our interest should be.
If we want to have the right impact in their life.
Yeah.
Did one of you have something? Yeah.
I was just going to say verse 8 where it says that it's poison, no man can tame it. I cross-referenced it to 1 Peter 2, really several verses, but basically 22 where it says, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again, when he suffered, but he threatened not. It goes on, but as you were saying, Jesus is the only one.
We want vindication, and we want it now. We think we're deserving of it. It's just not the case. And did you want to say something too?
So I think it was Amy Carmichael that said when she would go to say something, she'd ask herself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Necessary?
Yep. I remember Jesse Boyd used to say that. He used to always say that. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Yeah, it might be true. You might even be able to say it in a kind way. Is it necessary? Well, no, but okay, then don't say it. Just don't. So, anybody else? No, I know that was kind of short and quick to the point. So we'll say goodbye to everybody online. And